today we're talking about community, and as you can see, we're also here all about kind of communities. We have small community of drawers. I hope we already base some kind of community of creative people in Tallinn, and we also have the roastery. I already saw that there is small community around them as well. So like this is all about this today, and we were very inspired and very happy with this topic, and decided to invite Maria Derlos, an urban activist from Lasnamäe. She's leader of Lasna Idee. She will tell you what is this all about. And she's also a board member of Linna Labor, which is Estonian urban laboratory. So she deals a lot with city activism, with involvement of citizens and actually forming and making the communities. And I believe that she's better to tell all about this than me. Okay, welcome.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm really happy that you're so early here with me. I'm trying to wake up. Yes. So, yeah. As already Marina mentioned, there's a lot of different communities. You have coffee communities maybe, communities of people who like to draw, to be together for some reasons. They always share something, so that's what makes the connections, right? The community is about connections. But my specific topic is neighborhood communities. Because also my background is urban planning. I started with landscape architecture, and then I moved to urban studies, which is basically studies which combines urban policy, urban sociology, and urban planning. So somehow I ended up in this community field. Now thinking about it quite naturally. So, and as I'm from this neighborhood, Lasnamäe, I started my community work exactly there. Also because there was nothing kind of visibly, there was no visible movement in my neighborhood. So I wanted to create it, or at least test it. But for like maybe a general context, here is some figures from research that we made in Urban Lab. It's not about urban communities. This one is about village communities, which is actually a really big thing in Estonia. Maybe you know. Actually, how many from you are from Estonia? Okay, and how many are you from somewhere else but living here for some reasons? Okay. So yeah, maybe you know that we have quite strong village communities. So this research actually viewed exactly them. But the figures actually can speak about communities in general. We have a lot of assumptions about why communities actually are created, why they stay together, but actually no research has been done so far about them. So this is one of the first. I don't know how well you can see it, but for example, some reasons why community is active. They want to make a cultural development. They want to maybe solve a problem. And maybe something else that is not particularly like brought up here. But also for current activities, it's also cultural development. It's somehow the first thing always, which is actually quite positive because usually we think that people gather together when there's a problem, but actually this research shows that it doesn't have to be like that, and it isn't. Also, for me, it's interesting about who is community. There's usually 3 to 5 leaders. You cannot have too many leaders at once, then it becomes a bit of chaos. Somehow, it doesn't mean that community is like a pyramid. You can have leadership that is more horizontal, of course. But this is very important, and someone takes responsibility, and this cannot be a very big variety of people, then you don't have anyone who is responsible, right? And, you know, maybe what's interesting more is what is the cooperation with the local government. And only quarter basically said that it's very active, 12 that it's somehow active, 23 said it's project-based. So this shows that actually there is a lot of development in cooperation between the governments and local governments. Also, if you're interested in this topic, I guess you are because you're here in the morning, so there must be a good reason for that. There is a website that we created some time ago that gathers different good practices of collaboration models from all over Estonia, and it's also in English and Russian. Also, we gathered some researches, for example, some master theses or our own research, and some that we could find in this webpage. So I encourage you to go there and look around. It hasn't been updated for like a year, but I mean, the topics are quite on time still. And now back to neighborhood communities. This is a map we did in 2013-14, which maps Tallinn neighborhood communities and kind of their also historical movements. So actually, some of the communities are quite with long traditions, starting from 1908, and some are very young who emerged in 2011. So I don't know, you probably know Telliskivi, Selts, and they are like street festivals, and also Uusmaailm Street Festival. So these communities emerged more in 2000s, while, for example, in Nõmme, they are quite historical and emerged later. All these people, they lived together. They didn't kind of choose to live together. They chose the place, but not their neighbors specifically. So it's always interesting to see how you can collaborate with people who you didn't choose as your, co-neighbors. And also, if you live with someone in one house, it doesn't mean that you are by default a community. So you need to have something extra for you to become one or to be, defined one. So there's about more than 15 now communities all over Tallinn. Maybe you can see that basically whole Tallinn is covered by some of communities. And some of the neighborhoods actually have several communities. So it's also very positive in my view. It doesn't mean that you should have only one community who is monopolizing the whole neighborhood and then saying, well, we are deciding for you. It doesn't have to be. You can have multiple communities who are striving and having very different opinions, and that's only good. Also, what's important with these communities, and it's a bit of problem of self kind of positioning, these communities, in my view, can't represent whole residents. They're representing specific group of people and people who support them, but not the residents. But at the same time, of course, if that happened also to us, when the local government turns to some active community, they say, well, you can give us some input in this, for example, detailed planning that we're going to do, and they name you representatives of this district, which is a big problem for the community because they are becoming responsible for the decisions that they think are good, but they don't have any, mandate. No one voted for them. They're just some active people who are feeling that they want to do something more. So this is very important to know the difference and understand this, this small thing. But yeah, why do I do what I do? I kind of came from that, the same map that we did, which shows that, okay, the whole Tallinn kind of is covered, but you can see that this part here and this part here doesn't have any communities, or at least visible communities. And these parts are exactly those big panel housing neighborhoods that was built during Soviet Union. Mass housing, sometimes it's say panel housing, or however you want to call them. Also, they have generally more negative image, and so on and so on. So our next project was that, well, why is it like this? Is it, well, I will now jump next. So what is the reason? Is it because the citizens kind of are passive by default, like they don't care themselves? Or maybe it's the environment that doesn't able them to be active? Maybe this environment is alienating them on somehow, because we're not living in this situation, we're not living in smaller houses, we don't see our neighbors in the way that you see them in Uusmaailm. So what are the reasons? Because, there are no... you have some ideas, but we wanted to test them. We chose Lasnamäe because it was the most hardest, but also because I'm from there. It's the biggest district of Tallinn at all, and actually the biggest panel housing district in the Baltics, as far as I know. So it has 120,000 people. It's bigger than Tartu, which is the second largest city in Estonia. So you have a lot of people there. It's a majority Russian-speaking neighborhood, which also creates some tensions in our society. And we have some talks about segregation, that mostly Russian speakers live there and they don't mingle with Estonian speakers. So also this topic. What is specific for Lasnamäe, if you compare it to Õismäe or Mustamäe, is that it's unrealized. So you kind of have the challenge of, let's say, wastelands that didn't have the chance to be developed, but at the same time there are also opportunities that you have room for new developments. It's considered a monofunctional sleeping district, which can be actually argued. Also not a very desirable space to live. Has a negative public image, stigmatized, and also because all of this together, it's also politically, especially before the elections, you can see that politicians jungle with this Lasnamäe word and Lasnamäe card, as they say. I don't know if you have noticed it, those who are foreign. In my view, this has been happening less and less, but still you can see it. For example, recently now there has been article about some problematic youth vandalizing the city center. I don't know if you have noticed this news. So the headline was, Lasnamäe youth is vandalizing the city center, although only part of this youth is actually from Lasnamäe. But, it's kind of cool to say it's Lasnamäe, and then you're like, oh, it's this ghetto, and everyone from there is like this. You are expecting those youth to be, act like this. So, yeah. But about opportunities, well, first of all, the residents are very youthful. It's the last panel housing neighborhood been built in Tallinn, meaning that the housing stock is the youngest. Also, during those plans, they enlarged the spaces in the houses. So, for example, the kitchen in Mustamäe is much smaller than the one in Lasnamäe. So you cannot really say that the planning is bad. So people, if they want to choose, the first apartment, they quite often choose actually Lasnamäe. Also because of its good infrastructure, because of its good network of kindergartens and schools. So yeah, also what is not noticeable, maybe it's its cultural diversity. We tend to see, Russian community or just Russians of Lasnamäe, but actually there's a myriad of different backgrounds in this neighborhood. They came originally from very different parts of Soviet Union, and you can see different, mixtures there, which is a big opportunity. Also, as I said, this undeveloped land that initially is kind of considered as a wasteland is not wasted. They're actually natural green spaces, which is a value in itself. But of course, again, you have a possibility to do new developments that consider modern needs. So you don't have the same situation like in Õismäe, where you don't have no room to build bigger structures. Maybe, for example, we will have a pool, we will have like a big concert hall and so on. So these are all the biggest opportunities that we have. And also these opportunities will create reasons for the people to visit Lasnamäe, because these are structures that are not only for the district, but for the whole city. So yeah, also, in my opinion, we have a lot of individuality. You can see from like a plain view that everything is kind of the same, but actually there's a lot of small details, and especially in this kind of neighborhood, these details are brought up even more, even better. So, for example, you have these spaces that are initially all the same. These are the basements of the residential houses. So they have like these concrete, I don't know how you can call them, slabs coming out. But as time went by, they actually were not meant to be a grocery store or a shop at all. Initially, they were just basements. But people appropriated them. They started to do small businesses. So you can see a lot of them all over Lasnamäe. And of course, every business wants to be, visible and also different, and, say that, look at me, and you have to come in, and so on. So they are really making an effort to invite customers, and by doing so, they are adding a lot of new elements to the street, making it more lively, more interesting, and so on. So initially, all the spaces are the same, but they look completely different. Some of them have made like a roof over. Some are like put some vegetation here. I like this one because they took the same colors, as the facade, and they actually considered it. So they are, looking at their environment and actually responding to this. Another example, very small scale, is also how you appropriate your neighborhoods, like your courtyards. So this is kind of interesting, you put the flowers wherever you can. It's the same place as I showed before, but instead of grocery shop, they kind of closed this door, and then just instead they planted these containers here and put some flowers, which looks really cool as well, unexpected. And a lot of people also take their courtyards and make a beautiful garden out of it. And instead of garden gnomes, they actually put some fluffy animals. And actually, when it's raining, they take these fluffy animals home, and then they bring them again in the space. So it's very cute. And this all shows that actually people care about where they live, but you don't have to have like an organized, active NGO to show that you actually care. So it's not always that if you don't have an active neighborhood somewhere, it means that people don't care. They do, but they don't need an organized community for them to do it. So when we started this organized community, we had some messages. First of all, it was that Lasnamäe is a completely normal neighborhood. Stop marginalizing us. Stop saying, some words that actually don't mean maybe nothing to us. Also that when we started, it was, a lot of people said, well, how was it about this Russian community? So how do you approach them? Well, maybe talk in the same language they do, maybe translate. They are not different people, they are not like aliens from somewhere. So the different language is not a barrier. It's quite basic stuff that we did. We do everything in 2 languages, and it works. It brings together both people, and actually a lot of people know the other language, but not on the level that they can communicate freely, but they understand. So yeah, and also you don't have to wait for political decisions to make a change. This was something that I think many people from our neighborhood, and maybe from others also, are thinking that it's hard to change something, and you need to vote for someone, and then they will make it for you. But times have changed, and you actually there's a lot of opportunities to make a change yourself. So this is something that we are trying to show people through our examples. So what was also our approach? We wanted to change the perception. We wanted to create reasons for media to talk more positive about us or the neighborhood. We want to really engage. So we didn't want to do something just ourselves. We wanted to do it together with a wider network and engage people that we never would see normally. And we decided to do small-scale stuff. Although our neighborhood is really big, and you can imagine that maybe we should have, engage all these 120,000 people, it's quite impossible and too big of a bite. So we wanted to do small-scale because it also creates more opportunities to talk with people in more personally, to understand them better. Also, we decided to do prototyping. If we had a crazy idea, then we decided to let's make it smaller, test it, and then go to a bigger scale. I can give you an example later. Well, of course, it's very important to collaborate with the municipality, and also particularly important for our neighborhood and similar neighborhoods is housing cooperatives. So these are this house management, and from beginning of this year, it's compulsory for every house to have house management union. They are also under the law, the same law as NGOs, so they are actually a community of a house who is are obligatory to be formed. So it's quite interesting to see how some houses also try to make a different step, not just to manage the house, to make it, insulated, but also to make the neighborhood better, to their courtyard better, and to, it's a big work to manage all the people who live in your house and make collaborative decisions. So yeah. And also we decided to focus on mutual interests and not to talk about things that actually separate us. So for example, if we have Estonian and Russian speakers in our neighborhood, we are not organizing open debates about what should be the state language, because that would create immediately, separation. So we are focusing on what unites us. So, and that's this space, our district, and how to make it better. So some examples what we have been doing. From 2014, we started to do it to create awareness. You can do it through inviting people to see it and to show them, well, actually we have this and this and this, and actually it's interesting because of that, and did you know that, and so on and so on. So we did some excursions all over our district. We have been doing also bike tours. And also now we started to do quests, which is kind of a game for orientation, where you don't ask people to just go on spot, but you actually ask them some questions that they have to look around and answer something. So it's about awareness of space and trying to force people to perceive it in a different way. We, of course, are hosting some cultural events. We started with a street festival, like all other community neighborhoods, like Telliskivi and so on, because we were so inspired. But and we did it for 2 years, and then we decided not to do it anymore, because for us it was, it didn't give us back as much as we wanted. People came for fun, but they didn't understand who is organizing, and for them it was just fun, and we didn't have opportunity to talk with people. So yeah, we dropped this format. But we decided to continue with another one that we started from the beginning, which is the open air cinema event every year at the end of August. So we choose some interesting public spaces in our neighborhood. We have a very good partner with a screen, who can put a screen up basically anywhere you want. So we can do open air cinema in a wasteland, we can do it in a park, we can do it in a courtyard, whatever we want. So yeah, we bring chairs, we announce it, and just people come together. We choose movies always that could have subtitles in Estonian and Russian, and we also host discussions before the movie, also in Estonian and Russian, on some topic that's connected with the movie. And you are so very lucky that we are organizing it next week. And for all you English speakers, the first movie is in English. Yes, so I'm inviting you all to our neighborhood. It's 21st until 25th, so you have 5 days to choose. There will be probably at least one day with good weather, so... And the first day is it has a good opportunity. It's not going to rain. So come. And you can, of course, see all the information in Facebook. Also, we were trying to develop a culture of collaboration, to host some methods that could educate people on how to actually say their opinion and how to listen to others' opinion and so on. So yeah, we have been doing it in several neighborhoods. It's quite a challenge because people, they really want to be part of something, but they want to change and want to say something, but they actually don't want to listen to others so much, and they want to consider what their neighbors say. So they are really forcing you have to do what I do, what I want, but they don't have this kind of understanding that it has to be a collaborative decision. So we are kind of trying a bit to foster these things. One interesting method that we also tried is forum theater. I don't know how many of you know this format, yeah? I will not go very far in it, but it's kind of an interactive theater that shows you a scene of some kind of conflict, and you invite public to resolve this conflict. So for example, we did a forum theater on the topic of communication problems in the house, and we had a lot of heads of these housing corporations coming to us and actually being really active in this theatrical performance, which was really cool. And it showed that actually there is a need to create these discussion spaces. And what about visible change? You know, when we started, everyone said, well, you're great, but you are all about air. You're only doing blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's good to have a cultural event, but what are you actually changing? What you're actually doing? So we actually did something. For example, we decided we have this cool big stairs in this main Lagna channel. I guess everyone has used it at least once to go to Bauhaus, yes? So yeah, we decided that this stairs needs some color, and we decided to do it. And instead of inviting artists to make it for us, which would be also really cool, we figured out a very simple scheme in the way that everyone who passed during these 2 days that we did it could participate. So we had elderly people, children, whoever, and they could just take a brush and paint like one triangle for 5 minutes and then go where they go. Because people want to participate, but they have very different possibilities to do it. They cannot do it like full time and the whole day or so on. So you have to create different possibilities for people to take part. So this was very simple idea, but very effective. It was visible, and till now people kind of remind us that, we did this, and it was, we had like, I think the budget was 100 euros for this. That's it. You need 100 euros to do some kind of a change. And 2 days brushes and people, that's, yeah. And the communication there, we didn't have any network. It was our first thing. It was just some posters in the neighborhood and Facebook. Most of the people who came there were not from Facebook. There were people who were passing by. So yes, that's very important to do something in public space, because then you can engage people who will never come, they're not using Facebook. What we did also this year, a bit different, we tried to do a mosaic in one of our parks, which was a different artistic format, very challenging, but the same way you have people who pass by, they just come, they can put some of those stones and then go and then come back and say, well, I actually also did this, and this is now more my park, because they become like more owners of it. We also have been doing some urban furniture workshops in some of the neighborhoods with children mostly. And of course, every sitting space in the city becomes a victim of both kind of cultural recreation, and of course, especially during nighttime, by people who you actually don't want to see there. So, of course, we have been hearing about also negative feedback, about bums and alcoholics are sitting there, and at some point we even thought that maybe we have to move it. But the day we came there, we immediately encountered some of the locals who came to us and said, well, I'm actually knitting here, and I'm actually reading a book here. Don't take this away. So the negative kind of feedback is always you kind of the loudest, but you have to understand that when everything is right, no one is telling you. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. So there should be more sitting spaces, and let's, monopolize the sitting space so others don't have so many opportunities for that. And one thing that we started to do this year is actually an urban garden, a community garden. Also something that has been there was an experiment to do it also in Uusmaal. For different reasons it didn't proceed, but we hope that ours will. So these are the pictures of April, how we started it. So it's a courtyard of a former kindergarten, as your usual kind of this planned kindergarten you can see everywhere. It was closed. Now there is library functioning inside, some kind of children vocational activities there. But the whole courtyard, as you can see, also the former sandboxes were just lying there without any use, without any purpose. So yeah, we had this also crazy idea to do an urban garden there, because this is one of kind of known format of community development all over, the West countries. Have you visited any community gardens in your life? Andrei has. But you know about them, like in Germany, for example, there's a lot of them and so on. So why not test also here? This is where we actually did prototyping. In September last year, we did this first big, how you call it, peinar? Грядка. Flower bed? Yeah, but not flowers. When it's eatable plants, what do you say about it? Okay, well, you understand this box where things go inside, grow. And we did it on 9th of September. Last year, it was really bad weather. And 15 people came out to do it. And we thought, well, if for this one thing, 15 people are coming out and doing it, then maybe we need to continue. So we did. So this year, in April, we started to take the sandboxes, and in the sandboxes do some smaller boxes and fill them with soil and so on. So, and now it looks like this. Everything is growing in the former sandboxes, and we're also building some additional ones next to them, because more and more people came to us saying that actually I want also to participate. So we are giving this individual boxes for people who want to do. We have families, we have some like our age people coming there, elderly people, we have some library workers who have, this is actually their box, for example. Yeah, and it works. It's how it works. And one of the risks was that it's going to be vandalized quite soon, but it didn't happen. We joke that our biggest vandal is a rabbit who vandalized our apple tree during the winter, searching for food. So we had like an apple tree, but now it's like mini apple tree, and it's not going to carry any apples. So yeah. So it works. You please come visit this urban garden in Lagna neighborhood. And about this collaboration with municipality, I actually had a video here. Did it work when you tested? But I can show it maybe through different. Do we have actually time? Then you can. Yeah, I can put it in the event. It's. I'm not going to tell about the video, but the point in this collaboration municipality. Yeah, so conceptually blank page, but actually it's good in our case. When we started in 2014, we didn't care about politics or about elections, but it was the year of election, just before the elections. So naturally, since our neighborhood is also a tool for political manipulation a bit, we were considered that, probably we are some kind of people from this opposing party who wants to, take advantage of something, or maybe we are totally new political power, coming or something. So local municipality was super skeptical about us. Also did a negative press release about that we are doing nonsense and so on, and we didn't have any good collaboration with them. But the elections went by, we stayed, still non-political, still doing what we do. And also the head of municipality changed, which helped a lot. And she was kind of more knowledgeable about some of the people who were also in our team then. So she was more open to our activities, and now municipality turns more to us with some proposals and saying, well, for example, we have this thing there in this park. Do you have an idea how to make it better? Or we have this idea for an event. Can you maybe help us host it? So we also now hosted actually one bigger event in one of our parks. It was Pie Festival in July. 4,000 people came. It was a very good event for us. As I said, we dropped this format of street festivals, not only because it didn't give us back so much individual feedback, but also because it's super hard work and too much for us. But with the help of municipality, we don't have to worry about really big chunk of things that usually we should have. We can focus on the content, and they can take all that is this non-sexy, organization stuff. And they have so much, power to make a commercial and so on. So it was wonderful to do collaboration with them. And their feedback was that it was the best event they have been created so far. They said it in exact these words, which was very pleasing for us. They want to continue with the event next year. And this means that we have, show that we are good partners. We know how to do stuff. You can trust us. So it's only a good kind of, good example, let's say. We're quite happy with that. And that's basically it. Now I'm actually really glad if you can ask me something. I can stop now my monologue.
Do we have questions so far? Okay, I'll start from here. Then you.
Have you heard about Lasnogorsk?
Yes. You mean this TV series?
Yeah, and what do you think about it? Does it help integration, or does it really attract attention?
How many do you know about it? Yeah, okay. ETV Plus, it's going to be aired in the national television from this November or something. So it's a series about people living in Lasnogorsk. When I saw the trailer, my first reaction was that they are recreating a lot of stereotypes that we are trying to, be far from that. We are not, Lasnama is normal. A lot of different people live there. It's not like you are Russian speaker from Lasnama, you like these things, these you didn't like, and this is how you act. So we have mixed feelings about this series. It's really great that they're doing it because it brings out that, Lasnama, it's a cool neighborhood and you can, approach it in different ways. So it's good, everything that is with humor as well. But I have personally a problem that it's too stereotypic, I'm afraid. But let's see, it's not aired yet. So it's my also prejudice maybe. What actually you think about it, those who know about Lasnogorsk? Can I ask questions also?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
I'm actually struggling to study Russian since I'm 10, so 20 years of my life. And I've started using not the Linguist app, but a foreign one, Duolingo, to study Russian the last year more intensely. And I'm waiting for this series for my own personal agenda, but I'm kind of aware, yes, that this might be stereotypical, but the creators are also Russian-speaking Estonians, so I'm hoping that that is what they want us to know. No, so
Maybe.
I'm positively expecting, but yes.
But others?
I don't know much about it, so I only heard like some parts of the news, but I think the thing is that sitcoms in general are stereotypic. So I think any sitcom in the end is, since it relies on stereotypical jokes, it has to be stereotypic because it's all kind of simplistic. So maybe it was not a proper format. But let's see, too early to say.
Yeah, maybe from the stereotypes, they can be basis of some also discussions. So.
Any other ideas, or so we move to question.
Hi, I'm obviously foreigner, so thank you for introducing last time. And I have some comments and also questions. So from my point of view, the urbanites are usually involved in culture and also social and also economic reasons. It's complex. So from what I see, I'm quite impressed by the cultural cooperation and the PR activity you did. But my experience, or like if we analyze or look, for example, in Berlin, Kreuzberg, or in New York, Brooklyn, and then Queens, and also, of course, here, Teleskivi. So all these areas, when they develop, it's not developed from the PR activities. It's more like from the beginning, it's a suitable environment, infrastructure, cheap housing, and then gather the creative people and start doing business. So in last time, first, I don't know if you have some kind of economic plan to choose certain area who has, how to say, good intensity of the people, and then let's say street is narrow, environments are suitable for rebuild. For example, Teleskivi, one of the reasons, in my opinion, is able to redevelop from the previous really bad image. Is they have the abandoned warehouse, which provides the infrastructure. There's a density, and when the people come, they have multiple activities to do. Not only like if people travel for like, I don't know, 5 kilometers just to see a garden, this kind of activity might not create like a constant return. So for here, when people come, they have bars, they have restaurants, they have the, I don't know, pools, pool games to play. And then they also have the cultural activities, they have theaters. All these kind of things might create this kind of environment and attract the people to constantly coming back. So from what I see, first in last number, probably, I don't know if this kind of area already existing. Secondly, once Teleskivi, when it's become too expensive for certain people, when those creative people move out from Teleskivi, is there some area in last number is suitable for them to develop? That's a question.
So basically, you're talking about gentrification.
Yes.
Also, in maybe a longer perspective, we might be considered as gentrifiers, as we are creating kind of maybe, or we're part of creating the suitable environment for businesses to be more interested in Lasnamäe and so on. I personally don't lack a neighborhood like Teleskivi in my neighborhood. I don't really need it. I think in Lasnamäe it will find it's maybe a different format of renewal, of redevelopment, and maybe it's not going to be the same as in Teleskivi. In terms of Lasnamäe, also, when there are talks about like a ghetto or segregation or so on, well, segregation maybe, yeah, there is in some level, but for it to become a ghetto, you need to like really work on it to become a ghetto, because again, because it wasn't developed till the end, there's a lot of room for development, new places, new residential places, and that's what's happening actually now. Since it's also another construction boom happening at the moment. There's a lot of new residential buildings, first of all. Bigger like public spaces been done. But for redevelopment in this scale, like former abandoned buildings, maybe there is, for example, a potential that we see in the same former kindergarten house that maybe become like maybe a creative hub, maybe in some way, and it actually is, but not in the way that maybe hipsters in the hipster like this way, like, oh, it's a cool hub, like all this and that. In this former kindergarten, there is a youth club and children vocation club, and they are creating a massive community around them. It's actually 300 youth and children who each day pass it, and this is a creative hub for me. It's a different one, but it is. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So we have to be aware that there are different formats of creativity and also of this cultural innovation that is happening that's not necessarily in the way that we may be expect it to be, because it doesn't look the same way.
I actually, I agree, but my point is like it's not like recreate another Teleskivi. And if you go to Berlin, Teleskivi is just like a very ordinary neighborhood there. So it's not really like a hipster thing, but in my opinion, it's more like in the neighborhood to create some kind of like area which have the activity rich, culture rich, which increase the intensity of the people activities, so people can gather, whether it's like a local culture or some hipster culture.
Okay, maybe in different answer. In Lasnamäe, actually, all of those neighborhoods were created by free plan. This is the principle by micro district. So there's 11 micro districts. Some of them were created till the end, some not. But the principle of micro district is that it has a center, which is usually a commercial, but not only. It's also cultural and public spaces, also open public spaces and closed public spaces. During the development of Lasnamäe, a lot of these centers had a very big potential, but they weren't developed till the end. So the economical, financial one, the shops were done, but the public spaces were totally kind of undone, and we have only 2 libraries, we have only 1 cultural center, only 1 youth center for the whole 120,000 residents. And all of actually these cultural institutions that I mentioned are in one specific bigger part of Lasnamäe. So everything that's beyond Mustakivi road actually lacks these spaces that I mentioned. In my point of view, there shouldn't be one bigger hub, but I would like to see that this micro district center would be its mini kind of version of different varieties of activities. I think maybe this is what you meant. So something for the youth, something for the elderly, with economical reasons, shops, cafes, outside libraries, some community rooms where you can just rent them out and do whatever you want. So this is something that we would really like to see. And this is actually similar kind of talks and approaches are in other community districts. People are talking about it. For example, Juhkentali community, which is the area around the Keskturg, so this city market. There actually talks about also that the market will be brought down and some shopping center will be done instead of that. So this community are really arguing strongly that they want to see actually more of a community center there, which doesn't mean that they shouldn't have any shops, but to also focus on the other part of it. So yes.
So where we had...
just out of curiosity, 1, how do you advertise or get people to come? And 2, do you see the same people coming back again, or different people, or some of both?
Well, we haven't covered the whole Lasnamäe yet, I think. But our approach is also to do our events in different spots. When we started, we were people from very different parts of Lasnamäe. So it was actually one of the discussion that we have, should we focus on one specific area in Lasnamäe? We didn't find a conclusion, so we took the whole Lasnamäe. Yeah, by doing it in different spots, we get different people. Some of them come specifically to our events, but about half of them are passerbys or people who are from the specific neighborhood. So we get new people, and definitely through the events if we change locations. But for example, with this community garden, this is actually the first physical space, a long-term one specific space, where we are now from April, 5 months? 4 months? 4 or 5 months. This creates now a more like a network of people who already get to know each other, like some new connections also happening. So yeah, there we see people who are the same, and it's also good to have a mixture of both. So yeah, they're coming to our urban walks, to something else. They are fans of our cinema, and they write, well, damn, I'm away during the cinema, I could help and stuff, but I can't, so yeah.
So do you just like advertise with flyers or Facebook or talk to people or?
Yeah, Facebook is definitely one of a free source out there which is very effective. But not everyone is on Facebook, and we are very aware of that. So what we do is flyers, yes, posters in our neighborhoods. We focus a lot on the radio. Our target group is mostly Russian speakers, but not only. But since it is, we have to focus on the channels that is specifically for this target group, which is Radio 4 a lot. So we do that. For example, for the cinema, we take like 1.5 hours before the event, and we walk around the neighborhood and we talk with people and just say to them, well, actually, in an hour there's going to be an event like this. It's organized by just active people like you. Maybe you would like to come. It's totally free. Just, take your time if you're living somewhere here. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, you come. And then they come. Sometimes they bring some blankets out of their home, and they really do it. It's really nice. So yeah, we have a lot of street work.
Cool.
I have actually 2 questions. First of all, as you work also for Tallinn Urban Lab, you probably have some know-how from neighboring countries as well. Do you know how different or similar are the developments on that community building, for example, in other neighboring ex-Soviet Union countries like Latvia, Ukraine, Lithuania, for example? And the second question later, if you have time, then how are the things going in Mustamäe and Õismäe?
For us it's very interesting to see not so much maybe examples from Berlin, because they have totally different context and totally different economical stuff. For us it's interesting to see Riga and Kaunas and Vilnius and St. Petersburg and Moscow. So we have also a network of people who we know from there and who collaborate. So it's quite similar. For example, actually today there will be a girl coming from Kaunas who is doing also this community development in her neighborhood there, and because she has artist background, she's organizing artist residencies in her neighborhood. So what she does is bringing some mixed background artists to do some urban sekkumine or intervention in the neighborhood, and through that create some kind of resonance in other residents. So this is one of the formats that we are not doing because, well, we are not artist background, we have different ones, but also she is creating cultural events. So the events is kind of the same, but she's very interesting to see our smaller interventions that we do. But also, for example, in Moscow, they are doing like smaller discussions by neighborhoods, and they have collaboration with the local youth center. They have a school of neighborhood activists. It's called Школа добрососедства. You cannot really translate it in Russian, so it's hea naaberlikkuse kool. So they are inviting people who are more interested in the topic, and then they educate them about like different methods of how to, collaborate and how to approach people. So they're doing, for example, this as well. And the people who are running the stuff, they are, for example, anthropologists. So the approach is a bit different. What else? In Riga, there is a movement called Free Riga. These are the guys who actually take abandoned houses, and there is a lot in Riga, more than in Tallinn, and they are negotiating with the owners who will give them for free for temporal use to someone. And a lot of these abandoned houses is one specific area, which is not like a panel housing neighborhood, but still you can make some kind of parallels. So, for example, this is their approach, which is also creating some kind of community networks. And about Õismäe and Mustamäe. In Mustamäe, from this year, there are a group of girls who founded NGO Mustmägi, and they created their first cultural event called Hoovihäng, which was really cool and interesting. It was whole day. They're going to continue, I hope. And also there is Mustamäe Selts, another community neighborhood. I'm not sure what they are doing at the moment, but there are also some kind of movements. In Õismäe, there is korteriühistute ümarlaud, so a round table of housing corporations, and they formed an NGO to be able to ask for support for cultural events and some cultural developments that they couldn't do if they're just housing corporations, right? So they are kind of in a different level community from people who are like a very practical way of thinking, management, the house and something. They're not like, artist residents. So this is a very interesting way to approach, and they're quite successful. I mean, these are guys who actually have a lot of field work with different people who they have to manage around. So it's very interesting to see what they're going to do.
Okay, I have lots of questions.
Okay, back to the vandalism thing, right? In your opinion, why is vandalism on the rise in Estonia in general? And do you have the stats on like which neighborhoods have a higher rate of vandalism, for instance?
You're asking why there is more vandalism?
Yes, or why is it vandalism is on the rise recently, in your opinion?
I don't know, is it? I have heard actually it's on decline. But no, but maybe, is it your perception that it's on the rise, or it's some kind of media?
Yes, it's my perception actually, based on when I moved here last year and also like this year. I think that vandalism is on the rise.
Well, if I take the same article that came out recently about youth vandalism, there was also a comment from the youth police who said that crime is actually on decline. There are less crime statistics. It's going down. But of course, when something happens and the media brings it up, your perception is different than the statistics actually are. So yes, actually it's on decline.
Oh, wow.
And in Lasnamäe, the Lasnamäe numbers are not higher than the city center. The city center is still the most highest in the ranks, well, for obvious reasons. Yeah, and also vandalism, actually, if we talk about crime, actually most of the crime which is happening is inside our houses. So it's lähisuhtevägivald, so it's family violence.
Domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic violence, exactly. So yeah, this is something you don't see, but on the street there's actually much less.
Hey, Maria. If resources wouldn't be a problem, what would be your wildest community project? What you would do right now?
I would take this former kindergarten and I will create, I would like to have a community kitchen there for like a collaboration one with our community garden and to make a cultural hub there, I guess. And also, yeah, well, if the resources wouldn't be a problem and our kind of ownership stuff will also be a problem, then I think this micro-district centers, to start to develop them, would also be great stuff.
What do you mean by micro-district centers, like Petri and small?
No, like in Lasnamäe we have like smaller districts, and every district has its center. Like there was like this question before, if creating some kind of hubs. So in somehow helping to create these hubs would be great. Actually, one thing that is already helping this process is actually there is a pedestrian big promenades going all through these districts. At the moment, they are just paved asphalt with no like sitting spaces, no activities. But soon, the first strip of this promenade is going to be renovated, and it's going to have sitting spaces, ping pong tables, children playgrounds, and stuff. So actually, it will be an active street. So it's not like an inside space, like a cultural space, but outdoor space will be enlivened. So I hope this will also generate some new public activity.
All right, thanks.
Well, we have time for one last question. Okay.
Thank you. I'm quite impressed with all the cool activities you're organizing. I want to ask, what are your sources of inspiration? Like, do you get inspired by this specific spaces, or are there any like particular blogs or books that you would recommend?
You asking for recommendations, or are you asking how we are choosing our?
Like you personally, how do you get inspired? Like, do you read a lot, or do you just talk to people, or what's the process?
I guess it's a combination of all of them, because my profession is also urban, planning, urban sociology. So I tend to read a lot, or it just happens that some interesting articles come my way. So for example, the community garden, I wouldn't know about the whole concept if I wouldn't read something, if I wouldn't travel, and during traveling, if I were not aware previously about this stuff. So this is one thing. Another is, of course, other people who give you ideas that you don't expect. So for example, in our team, we are very different people. Actually, Anton, who is sitting there, he's from last night there. Anton is, his background is Russian philology. We have another girl who is an engineer, another girl who is an architect, another one who has social work background. So they're so different people, and they have different opinions, and if you have an idea about urban garden and you think, well, it should be this way, then all these people turn your thinking other way around by asking, but why exactly this and not that? And then you create totally something new out of the initial idea. And well, the reason why we were able to create this urban garden was thanks to the partners we have in this neighborhood. So exactly this youth club that I mentioned before, also the library, because we were living in different places. We didn't want to create a situation where we are the responsible people coming every morning to water the plants, which would be very tiresome. So we needed local partners who would have people to do it. So this is where all this youth club activity and all this. So if that wouldn't be, we didn't do an urban garden. It wouldn't be possible in this way. About, for example, the stairs. This was idea of our other girl who said that she is taking the bus in this Lagna road every day, and she's fed up that it's so gray, and why can it be a bit better? And she had this idea, and well, we just supported, and we did it. So something sparks in some people, and you just have to support it. In our urban garden, someone wanted to do these urban furniture from tires. I mean, it wouldn't be, for example, my choice maybe, but they wanted to do it. Yes, go for it. In terms of, for example, outdoor furniture, I had a girl who also now finished landscape architecture, and her master thesis was focused on the activities of the neighborhood, and she did this urban furniture model that she placed in some neighborhoods, and she just observed what was happening. So I just asked her, well, this urban furniture, how did you do it? Do you want to do it again? She was, yeah, sure, let's do a workshop. So that's happened. Maybe we wouldn't do an urban furniture workshops exactly this moment if she wouldn't already done it. So we are looking for also ways where it would be easier for us. Someone is already done and we can make the dots happen, not to do everything ourselves as well. So.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we don't have much time for questions, but we can actually, there is still some coffee left and actually pies. We're not that much today. So welcome, and we can talk there also. We have a small present for you. I talked before. Oh, just a second. Yeah, this is, as you are a very active lady.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff carry around.
Yeah. This is a bag from Colorado, I told you before, and this is to mention you about the power of community and our talk.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I also have, there is one Tallinn map. You can put your dot if you still didn't do it. We just want to see from which district are you. So you can take coffee, take pies, and put a dot on the map, please. And also I have one small, but before, let's see what artists did here. And you can move here and we will see the drawings. Thank you for coming.
Yes, and don't forget outdoor cinema next week. 21st is in English.